Hi, welcome back to EOC YouTube channel. This is a channel where I share everything about our Malaysian property news trend. Sometimes I will also share new property launches, and of late I've also included food reviews, cafe reviews, especially in Penang Island. Today in this episode, I'm going to share with everyone, if you plan on becoming a landlord or if you are already an existing landlord, one of the top fears every landlord would have is to be dealing with bad tenants who refuse to pay rental and yet refuse to move out from your premises. Okay, why is it that I decided to do an episode on this? Because recently I've come across an article where it actually spelled out what are the legal remedies landlord can do in order to evict their tenant who has defaulted in their rental and yet refused to move out from their premises. But when I looked through those legal remedies, I was like, oh my god, it's costly and it's lengthy process which I don't think so any landlord would want to go through unless they really have got no choice. So over here, I'll briefly go through with everyone what are the legal remedies process available to us as a landlord if we really want to go through legal remedies in dealing with bad tenants and in possessing back our property. Okay, if we look at here, this is a chart that I'm making on my own. Should your tenant start to default in rental payment, so what landlord can do if we want to go through legal remedies process is, firstly, we will have to engage a law firm to help us to issue eviction notice to this defaulter's tenant. Okay, and on this eviction notice, the landlord would have to give certain reasonable grace periods to the tenant to vacate the property and pay all the overdue rents. And very important is the tenant must sign on the eviction notice as an acknowledgement that he has received the eviction notice and he is aware of the notice. Okay, and even with this issuing of this eviction notice, the legal fees in Malaysia would range from about Ringgit Malaysia 500 to about 1,000. So next, if after issuance of eviction notice and the notice has already expired yet your tenant still refuse to pay and refuse to move out from your premises, so what can you do? In this instant, you would have to go back to the law firm and ask them this time to apply for an eviction order from a court. Okay, so this eviction notice will take about 3 to 6 months to process at the session court, and the legal fees ranges from a whopping of Ringgit Malaysia 8,000 to 10,000. Wow. And if it is uncontested, if it is contested, of course the cost is going to balloon up to even higher. Or thirdly, we can also apply for a warrant of distress action. This action will allow the landlord to recover the overdue rents from the tenant by seizing the tenant's goods and selling them at the public auction to recover the outstanding rental. But remember, this distress action is not for repossession of the premises. It's merely for the recovery of the overdue rents. After doing the lengthy and costly legal remedies in Malaysia, would you still want to become a landlord? I doubt so. Even for me, after reading this, I was like, wow, I wouldn't want to land myself in that situation, you know. So over here, I would like to offer another way where it's totally legal as well. It's a practice that I've been doing for the past decade as a landlord myself. So I hope that by sharing this, every one of you, be it you're a current landlord or a future one, you would still think that wow, there's still hope for everyone as a landlord in Malaysia. Okay, let's dive into the full details now. So I'm here to share with all my audience over here. Do not enter into a tenancy agreement with any tenants who rush into tenancy agreement with you and who do not have to view the physical property and yet are willing to rent the place, because this should have given us red flag that this tenant has got problem. Okay, because think again, if you are a quality tenant, definitely you also want to make sure that the house or the property that you're going to rent, you want to make sure that you have done your own due diligence in checking out the place as well, right? If you are like chin chai, you want to rent the place, that means it will also pain that you are someone who may not be so responsible when it comes to payment. So this is my own experience, and of course I have also heard from my clients similar things that have happened to my clients where he rented his premises to tenant who was like also in the rush to enter into tenancy agreement, and then end up on the second, third month it started to default, and then when he went to get back his own unit, his property was in a whole mess, and then he needs to incur quite a lot of money to do repairs, do cleanings, and quite a number of furnitures in his unit found missing. So so these are the red flags that we want to bear in mind as a landlord or future landlord. Then should the first filtering still fail to prevent a bad tenant or a tenant who defaulted in rental, what I do is I follow up with my tenant payment very closely. If let's say the due date is on the 1st of every month, on the 2nd or on the 3rd itself, if they still have yet to make rental payment upon due date on the 1st, I would have sent a reminder and ask them have they make payment for their rental which is already overdue 1 to 2 days ago. And I'll follow up closely. If they promise that they are going to pay today or the next day, I will make sure that I follow up on the very next day or on the date that they promised to pay. Ask them to send me the receipt. If the receipt is still not sent and they give another broken promises again, that is when I would think that there's a red flag, and I will probe the tenant further and ask them, are you facing any financial crunch or cash flow problem? And then if let's say the tenant tells us that they are facing some financial issues, then I will offer them help. In what way is that usually I will tell them, if this is the case, then I think it does not make economic sense for you to continue to stay and rent in this current premises, since the rental could be a bit too high based on your current financial situation. So I'll offer that why not I help you to get a cheaper place, a cheaper rental place for you to move out to, and in return I'll promise that I will refund you your deposit. Remember, when we rent our premises to a tenant, always collect minimum 2 months deposit, because this thing will come in very handy in situation like this. Give them something back to entice them to cooperate with you, because I would say if you have done your due diligence in filtering your tenant, most of the time the tenant that you get in are reasonable individuals. So as long as they know that we are also trying to help them, they will also respond in kind. So what I've done in the past is that I will always offer them to look for alternative rental places which is more economical to them, cheaper, and I'll also offer to pay them back their deposit if they are able to cooperate to return the property to us like within 1 to 2 weeks time in good condition. Then instead of forfeiting their deposit, we'll give them back the deposit, and we'll also try to get agent to find new places for them. So usually in the past decades, this is what I have been doing, and it has worked miraculously all the while. And I attributed this success to firstly the filtering. So filtering is still very, very important to make sure that the tenant that we get in are reasonable tenant. So that when we are dealing with reasonable individual, it can always work when we are dealing with a reasonable individual. It only doesn't work if we are dealing with unreasonable kind, So this is what I have been doing for the past decade in managing my tenant, and it have worked almost 99.9%. So I hope that by sharing this process with everyone, we do not have to go through the lengthy and costly legal remedy in Malaysia. Prevention is always better, but if we couldn't prevent it, then of course solving it quickly is the key, Try to solve it ASAP before the situation takes roots. This is how I have been doing, and I hope that all of you or my audience, if you have been listening until thus far, great for you, because if you are already an existing landlord or you plan to become a landlord, these tips will definitely come in handy for you, as he has done for me. So thank you for watching until the end. As usual, always be aggressive in learning, but be safe when it comes to investing. Okay, I'll see you again next week. Bye.